Datta Formation is, you know, that it has been deposited in the delta. And sir has already explained the depositional strike and depositional depth. So depositional depth is when you are going down into the basin. So the fascies changes. So this Datta Formation is actually was depositing in the east and it was deepening to the west. So in the Namal Gauge, you might have seen it, you have a lot of huge sand bodies,
Yes, sir.
right, interbedded with the shale. But here you don't find those sand bodies. Instead you have this carbonaceous shale interbedded with the lagoonal limestone. So that itself means that it is relatively deeper as compared to the Namal Gauge Datta Formation. So that means we are moving along the depositional depth. So since it is a deltaic sequence, so deltaic sequence you have sometimes the influence of marine setting, sometimes the continental setting. So that's why you have a very mixed kind of lithologies, and those mixed kind of lithologies giving mixed colors. So that's why you have these variegated lithologies which are forming at the outcrop. And secondly, these carbonaceous shales. So you might have seen Karachi Delta. So you have huge distributary channels, and in between two channels you have a huge interchannel area. So these carbonaceous shale and the limestone were deposited in those in those interchannel areas, right? तो आपके पास जो इंटरचैनल एरिया है उसी के अंदर आपके पास ये कार्बोनेशियस शेल और लाइमस्टोन बने, और आपके पास ईस्टर्न साउथ रेंज में आपके पास डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन चैनल्स के अपने जो हैं लार्जर सैंडस्टोन जो हैं वो बेड्स बने हैं. So it's a kind of regression, because if you have yesterday discussed that any lithology can represent regression or transgression. Okay? Any lithology can represent transgression or regression, but you have to look for what is beneath that rock unit and what is above that rock unit. ठीक है, पूरी ट्रेंड को आपने देखना है. तो अब आपके पास जो है ये डेल्टाइक सीक्वेंस है. डेल्टाइक इसके नीचे क्या है? किंग्रियाली डोलोमाइट है, ट्रायसिक का. ठीक है, यहाँ पे सब सरफेस में, लेकिन नमल गॉल में किंग्रियाली डोलोमाइट है. तो किंग्रियाली डोलोमाइट is a secondary dolomite. It's not primary dolomite like Jotana dolomite, right? So secondary dolomite is a limestone. Later on during diagenesis it converts into a dolomite, and limestone represents typically shelf-fill marine condition, so that means sea level rise. But when that is converted into a delta or marginal marine setting, so that means the sea level is falling. You have a regression, right? So this whole phase of the plastic dominated deltaic sequence of Datta Formation represent regression, which will finally enter into transgression while you are moving upward. देखिए ऊपर आपके पास ये कार्बोनेशियस लिथोलॉजी जहाँ पे ख़त्म होती है, और आपके पास जो है लाइमस्टोन की लिथोलॉजी स्टार्ट होती है, और थिन बेडेड लाइमस्टोन. सर ने जो बताया कि कार्बोनेट में अगर थिन बेडेड लाइमस्टोन है, so that represents deeper settings. If the beds are very thicker, so and if you are moving upward and the beds are becoming thick, so it starts thickening upward, so sea level is falling. But you see here the bed thickness is they are very thin, so that means the sea level start rising again. You have transgression, which was abandoned at the boundary between Datta and Kingriali. Then you have the regression, you have the Datta Formation, and then again you have the start of the onset of transgression, where you have this white thin limestone beds of Shinardi Formation started depositing. Okay? We will walk along these beds. There are different kinds of bed, bioplastic beds, और इसी तरह से जो हैं जाएंगे और इन रॉक